This is a go-to fly of mine for when I don't want to use streamers. To start, begin with 0.15 lead-free wire and wrap it up about 12 times on the back half of the hook. Then, we're going to helicopter each end off. After this, we're going to begin to attach our thread. Here, I'm using tan thread to match the color of the natural. After you have attached your thread, make wraps around the lead to further secure it and make sure your thread ends at the front of the wire. After this, we're going to tie on some embroidery floss. Here, I'm using the colors dark brown and cream. With the cream colored floss, I'm going to tie it on my side of the hook. I'm going to tie it all the way to the start of the bend of the hook and then bring my thread back to the front of the tying point. Then, on the far side of the hook, I'm going to tie in my brown floss. Just like the cream floss, I'm going to tie it all the way back to the back of the hook, and then I'm going to bring my thread to the front of the tying. The effect that this has is it causes the fly to widen. And after I've tied in both pieces of floss, I'm going to make a 2-turn whip finish here and then trim my thread. Because the next step is weaving these two strings together. The reason I chose to tie the cream colored floss on my side is because the color that I tied on my side of the fly would be on the bottom when I begin to weave these two together. As you can see, the brown is on top while the cream is on the bottom. Also, as I'm weaving these, I'm creating ridges and segmentation. After I've weaved these two pieces of floss about halfway up my hook, I'm going to stop weaving them and then tie them in. I'm going to do this by tying on both sides of the floss. First, by tying behind it, and then further securing it by tying in front of it. I'm going to do this process multiple times. After I've tied in front and behind the floss a few times, I'm going to trim my excess. As you can see, the effect from weaving creates a bi-colored fly. Next, I'm going to grab a soft hackle neck and grab 2 feathers from it, making sure that they are the appropriate size for my hook. Here I'm using a size 12 hook. After I've tied in these 2 feathers, I'm going to burn off any excess fibers and grab some chain bead eyes in black. I'm going to tie them in first by making X wraps around them, and then further secure them by tying between the bead eyes and my thread. Now here is why I chose to use 2 feathers. Not only for extra movement, but because with 2 feathers, you get 2 quills, which would make for great antenna. I'm going to take the 2 stems and make sure that they are oriented away from each other and then tie them in. After they have tied in, I'm going to trim the excess on one side and then tie them further up my hook. The effect that this should create is 2 antennas sticking out from the front of my fly that I can further adjust by just preening them out with my fingers. Finally, I'm going to grab some naturally colored hare's ear dubbing to dub the front of the fly. Finally, I'm going to make a 5 or 6 turn whip finish here to end my fly. And here you have a very nice dragonfly nymph, which are abundant in waters that you would also have bait fish in, but not necessarily many other nymphs. And like I said, this is definitely one of my go-tos on a stream that I don't really want to fish streamers and I want to have a little fun on. And if you learn something or you like what you see, please subscribe. I'm trying to get to 500 subs and I'm really passionate about fly time. And remember, that trout see every detail.